Oh, I'm Clark Crawford, and welcome back to the latest edition of Clark Crawford Sports, where we're talking Astros baseball all season long here on YouTube. And well, your Houston Astros are now 40-40 here on the season. They sit at 4.5 back in the AL West. They've made up significant ground by winning games as of late. And the Mariners, who are 4-6 in their last 10, with the Houston Astros 8-2, and of course, on a 7-game win streak. They've won 7 in a row, easily their longest streak of the season. It's simple. You win games and you gain ground in the standings. Who knew that was an option? Because the Astros just seemed allergic to winning early in the season. They couldn't do anything and seem to do anything right. And well, now they're red hot and they head to New York for a weekend series against arguably the second hottest team in the league, the New York Mets. They will square off here to end the month of June. But first, of course, as we do here on Clark Crawford Sports, if you're new to the channel, leave a like down below. Feel free to comment. And of course, subscribe to the channel because, like I said, we're talking Astros baseball all season long. But first, before we talk about Astros versus Mets, we have your Astros versus Rockies series preview, where the Houston Astros picked up their 39th and 40th wins against the Rockies on the season. They swept the Rockies in the season series 4-0. The 2 games in Mexico City early in the season, and now the 2 games in Houston, Texas. Now, the game on Tuesday night, Hunter Brown started for your Houston Astros, and well, he went 6 innings, giving up only 2 hits, striking out 7, as they got to Austin Gomber, the Rockies pitcher, attacking him for 5 runs and 5 1/3. They scored all 5 of those runs in the first inning, so the offense was red hot like the team is right now, and then they cooled off later in the game, though the damage was already done in this one after a 5-0 first inning. Alex Bregman knocked in Altuve with the single, Diaz singled in Bregman, Myers singled in Alvarez, and McCormick's 2-run single knocked in Diaz and Myers. The Rockies scored late with an RBI single in the 8th and a solo home run in the 9th. But as I said, the damage was already done. The Astros got the win, and that was all she wrote. Chas McCormick with his 2 RBI performance. Alex Bregman had a hit, and Jose Altuve had 2 hits. It was a great team effort. And the Astros, as I said, on this day, picked up their 39th win of the year. It was a good outing by Ryan Presley, giving up no walks and no hits. Josh Hader did give up a run in the 9th inning, but that's okay. It wasn't a 1-run game. I'm not too worried about it, as he needed to get some work in anyways. Taylor Scott had a nice inning as he lowered his season ERA to 1.63, continuing, as I've said, several times this year, to be the Astros' best reliever so far in 2024. Moving along to Wednesday's game, I was in attendance at this one, and I am 1-1 on the year attending home games. Probably won't be able to attend any road games this year, but that's okay. I'm going to look forward to maybe attending a couple next year in the summer months, but we'll see what happens with the schedule and everything. But nonetheless, I attended Wednesday's game, and the Astros won. Spencer Arrighetti, the best start of his young career. I've been on Spencer Arrighetti's case the last couple of times he started, and I mentioned it here on the channel. I've started to slightly get a little worried. I wasn't in full-on panic mode, but I was a little worried about Spencer Arrighetti on had he kind of hit a rookie wall. Well, he was facing tied for the second worst record in the league coming into this start, as the Rockies are now 27-53 after their 2 more losses to the Houston Astros. But Arrighetti, to his credit, he's faced in a major league team, and you've still got to give him the credit he deserves. A season high for an Astro starter, 10 strikeouts in this game for Arrighetti. He picks up his 4th win. He's 4-6. He goes 7 innings of 3 hits and no earned runs. Like I mentioned just a minute ago, I was starting to get a little worried about Arrighetti. He had 2 Rocky outings in a row, and it tends to happen not to all rookie pitchers, but to numerous rookie pitchers of, hey, they start to hit a rookie wall partway through the year, and he's also going to reach a career high in innings pitched. So anytime they can to maybe skip a start or give him an extra day or 2 of rest, it would be, I believe, highly beneficial to Spencer to reduce his workload a little bit. Obviously, I'm not saying remove him from the rotation or anything. Well, also because the Astros can't afford to do that. But at the same time, if you can reduce his workload by just a tad, I think it would definitely help Spencer Arrighetti a ton. Now, for the scoring in this one, the Astros won the game 7-1. Yainer Diaz hit an RBI single to score Altuve in the fourth. Altuve singled to score Salazar in the fifth. Salazar hit a sac fly to score Doobie in the seventh. Altuve's fielder's choice scores Pena. Bregman fielder's choice scored Loper Fido. And then Diaz's single scored Bregman, and then Pena single in the eighth inning scored Doobie yet again. The other highlight of this game that I want to mention is Jose Altuve stole two bases in this one, kind of sneakily in my mind, off of the Rockies pitching. Dubon came in, went 1-for-1 with the walk and a hit, and scored 2 runs as well. Another highlight of the day. And then Yainer Diaz raises his season average to 271 with a 3-for-4 day and 2 RBIs. The only knock I'll have on Diaz is at some point in his career, he's going to have to draw some more walks. I love the 271 average, but his 298 on base percentage it's got to be better. That's just the one knock on Yainer Diaz early in his young career. I mean, it's just a simple, small little knock on him of eventually he's going to have to raise that on base percentage, at least get it up to 330, 335, 340 to be even a bigger offensive threat. But the Astros take care of business against the Rockies. As I also mentioned previously, going 4-0 on the season. It was a series you had to have. As I predicted, they would sweep the Rockies. They're 4-0 against them on the year, and it's a nice win. They're 40-40. The first time they are 500 all year, as 0-0. 0-0 record does not count as 500 because you haven't played a game yet. That's just silly to me. So it's the first time all season they're over 500. We're going to jump right into your Astros versus Mets series preview. And, of course, that starts tonight on Friday, which game 1 is on Apple TV. I know it sucks, but you can nonetheless watch the game, find somebody with an Apple TV subscription. And the Astros, 40-40, second in the AL West, face the New York Mets, 39-39, third in the NL East. And your pitching matchup for tonight is Ronel Blanco, 8-2 with the 2.34 ERA, 84 and 2/3 innings pitched, 48 hits and 79 strikeouts. He's been excellent. Cy Young candidate right now as we stand here at the end of June in 2024. He's going to be an all-star as well. It would be a crime if he was not. His mound opponent is going to be Jose Quintana, 3-5 with the 4.58 ERA, 78 and 2/3 innings pitched, 78 hits, 58 strikeouts. Not a big strikeout pitcher. Quintana mostly pitches to contact, and it gets him into trouble a lot. He's not going to burn 98, 99. He's going to have to pitch the corners and the edges of the plate because Quintana is just not that fireballer. He's been a decent pitcher throughout his career, but he's nothing the Astros can't handle, and we'll see what they can do against the Mets tonight. Also, I want to go over both teams' lineups for game 1 tonight because there's some notable names for the Mets that can be dangerous in this series. And frankly, I think it needs to be discussed. They have some dangerous players, but it's a matter of, I think, maybe not for the most part, but a lot of them just maybe underperform at times and such. So the Mets have Francisco Lindor leading off, a 246 average. Lindor, since the Cleveland trade, he hasn't been that great for the Mets. I mean, for what they traded for him and also the extension they signed him to, he's just been an average player for the Mets. So I think as of right now, neither team really won the trade because none of the prospects Cleveland got for him have been all-world, stud prospects. So I think it's been kind of not necessarily a win-win trade or a lose trade, but nothing of significance has happened for either side. Brandon Nimmo, an outfielder, he's playing left field tonight, 242 average on the year, 12 homers, 46 RBIs. And then their free agent offseason acquisition, who I think the Mets, because I don't think they're winning a World Series this year. I see it highly unlikely. with the 1-year deal they signed JD Martinez to, I think they need to trade him at the deadline. He's hitting 287. He was signed really into April, so he didn't really make his debut until a little bit later, a couple weeks, or if not, about a month into the season. 287, 9 homers, 34 RBIs, still producing. I believe he's 36 now, still producing at his age. He can be a valuable bat. I doubt the Astros would go get him, but I think that'd be a fantastic move to slot him in right around the 5 spot, 6 spot in your order. Like I said, it's highly doubtful, but if they were somehow to pull that off, make him their everyday DH, man, that would be a formidable hitter in the middle of their order. Of course, Pete Alonso, as they call him, the polar bear, 241, 16 homers, 43 RBIs. Kind of a rumored trade target for the Astros as well, but I think highly unlikely. The Astros can only add up to less than $6 million in salary before they hit the second full luxury tax threshold, which their luxury tax would go through the roof, paying millions and millions and millions more this season. And Jim Crane has shown he does not want to do that throughout his Astros tenure. So I see it unlikely they go get Pete Alonso, just something to notably mention of maybe it's possible, but I highly doubt it. Though Pete Alonso would be, like Martinez, a good addition to the Astros lineup, right around that 5 hole in the lineup after you get Kyle Tucker back. I believe Pete Alonso would hit 5th or JD Martinez, but as I said, unlikely they acquire either player. Francisco Alvarez, their young stud catcher, he's had some injury issues in his first 2 seasons, but he's a .313 hitter with 4 homers, 19 RBIs. He's got some thump, some pop in that bat, and I expect him to be a pretty good staple for the Mets if he can stay healthy. Similar to Yainer Diaz as the Astros everyday catcher, Alvarez has a bright future in this league. And then the rest of the Mets lineup, of course, you have veterans down there, Jeff McNeil and Harrison Bader rounding out the lineup, having decent seasons. Just mostly went over the notable names, and Vientos is another young player for the Mets, and then Taylor is another veteran as well. Just some names to watch out for in the Mets lineup. They can be dangerous at times, but it's one of those things of you just don't know which Mets are going to show up. As the same with the Astros so far this year. Both teams have struggled to put their best foot forward this season. So with the Mets at 39-39 and the Astros at 40-40, this is a key series for both teams. Whoever can win this series, I think, will take a step forward and also continue their hot streak going forward through the All-Star break. And especially if one of them were to get swept, it could not necessarily end their season, but it could show really the true colors of that team season. I don't want to put it on all on one series, but it just goes without saying it's a key series for both teams. We'll see who comes out on top and takes 2 out of 3, maybe even a sweep. It'd be nice if the Astros could somehow find a way to sweep the Mets. I think I would probably lean towards they don't, because the Mets are red hot as well, but it's not out of the question. Now, the Astros lineup for tonight's game, as I pull it up, they will face Jose Quintana, Jose Altuve leading off at second base, Alex Bregman in the 2-hole at third base, Alvarez DHing in the 3-hole. Diaz is your catcher batting 4th. He's swinging a little bit better of a bat lately. Let's hope he continues his hot bat as of late. Jake Myers, not your prototypical 5-hole hitter, but it's really the best you got right now. I like how the lineup is structured. You got Myers and Pena with some speed right there in the middle, with Dubon swinging the bat at a 295 clip in the 7-hole, McCormick hitting 8th, and then Loperfido rounding it out, as Loperfido can grab you a base down there in the 9-hole. He's got 2 stolen bases, and he's only had 55 total at-bats. So it's a nice lineup as Jake Myers 5th, Pena 6th, Dubon 7 at first base. That's notable to mention with the left-hander Quintana on the mound. McCormick hitting 8th in right field, and Loperfido batting 9th in left field. I love that Joey Loperfido's getting his playing time. Dubon's even playing more, though Dubon's not your typical everyday players, so I'd love for them to go get a first baseman at the deadline. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but if you're rolling Dubon and Singleton out at first base, that is not necessarily a great long-term plan. Neither one of them are the best options at first base, but it's where you're stuck at because Jose Abreu was a major bust. I'm not going to mention him anymore, but I just need to mention he was a major bust. And this is kind of what you're stuck with right now because they didn't do a good job getting enough depth at first base and particularly third base as well in the offseason, as third base has been a problem for several years, depth behind Alex Bregman. Now, as for the rest of the Astros versus Mets series, we've got also your game 2 and game 3 previews pitching wise. As I went over the lineups, kind of showing you the dangerous players in each lineup, we already know for the Astros wise, but for the Mets, if you're not familiar with them, to get familiar with a few of their offensive weapons of guys to watch out for in case you didn't know. Framber Valdez takes the hill on Saturday afternoon. Left-handed southpaw, 6-5, a 3.68 ERA. We got great Framber last time out. Pitched to Jim. So we'll see if we get good Framber. I mention it all the time, and I'm going to mention it in every start. He's an Astro here on my YouTube channel of, are you going to get good Framber or bad Framber? Because it seems to be almost kind of a trend of maybe 2 starts you get good Framber and then a bad Framber, or in the other start, or will you get one good Framber start and then a bad Framber start? It seems to flip-flop. You just never know which guy is going to show up. He's 6-5, a 3.68 ERA, 80 and 2/3 innings, 71 hits, 63 strikeouts on the year. His mound opponent is Tyler Megill. Megill is 2-4 with the 4.81 ERA, 33 and 2/3 innings pitched, 32 hits, 43 strikeouts. He's a decent pitcher, just somebody to keep an eye on. He can shut an offense down, but it remains to be seen if he can do it consistently, kind of like Framber, but obviously Framber has a much better history of shutting guys down. And of course, he's a better pitcher than Megill, but Megill's certainly capable of shutting an offense down. So a good Saturday pitching matchup along with the Friday one. We'll see who comes out on top in this one. It should be another good game against 2 red hot teams. And of course, your Sunday matchup where, well, the Astros are still undecided on who is going to make the start on Sunday. I believe at this point, it is definitely going to be a bullpen game. Whoever pitches out of the bullpen the next 2 days of that group of Luis Contreras, Brian King, Sean Dubin kind of role. I believe if any of them pitch in the next 2 days, one of them is going to be sent down for a fresh arm, and somebody of Sean Dubin, Contreras, Brian King, or maybe Parker Mushinski from the minor league level, somebody in that rotation, maybe another pitcher, I don't know as of right now, will get called up, but it seems they're going to go with the bullpen day. I thought they might call up A.J. Blueball, one of their young starters at AAA, though he just pitched a nice game last night with 6 innings at AAA, so that's not an option to start on Sunday. So it seems increasingly likely they're going to go with the bullpen game, which I think is incredibly risky as this is a pivotal point in their schedule as the rest of the season is. But you have a 10-game road trip, and it starts tonight. You go to Toronto for 4 this next week, and then you play 10 days in a row. And that includes going to Minnesota next weekend for a 3-game series. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I think it's a little risky to go with the bullpen day on Sunday. Just call another pitcher up. Maybe they're counting Verlander joining them in the rotation sometime on this road trip, though I doubt it. I don't know what's going to happen, but like I said, I think it's risky to go with the bullpen game, but I guess their thought is maybe they believe they can beat the Mets in a bullpen game and then eventually call another pitcher up or sign a veteran who gets DFA'd to make a spot start or even 2 before the All-Star break. And potentially the next time they'll need a starter is the Minnesota series, and then figure it out from there. Get into the All-Star break, and then maybe Verlander's back sometime after the All-Star break. I think that's best case scenario is Verlander comes back sometime after the All-Star break, maybe even late July. We don't know as of yet. He has not even begun throwing as of June 28th as I sit today making this video. The undecided mound opponent is Luis Severino. He's 5-2, a 3.29 ERA, 90 1/3 innings pitched, 73 hits, 71 strikeouts on the season. Severino's been pretty darn good for the Mets, almost having a kind of a rejuvenation of a season. So hats off to him for figuring out in a Mets uniform, potentially a trade target at the deadline if the Mets decide to be sellers, because he can be a good pitcher and help the middle of someone or the back end of someone's rotation. So I don't have any factual information on it, but maybe a name to watch at the trade deadline as a trade target for several teams who need some offensive weapons. Now, one of the last things I want to note in this video, as you remember, as the Astros played the Mets, the Astros made a trade last year at the deadline with the New York Mets. And of course, the Astros acquired Justin Verlander. The Mets acquired two prospects. The Astros, highly ranked prospects. Most people had them as their number one and number two prospects in their system. They traded for guys with the names of Drew Gilbert, who is now 23 years old. And the final piece of the Verlander deal, the other piece, was Ryan Clifford, who is 20 years old. And, well, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how they're doing in the Mets system. Now, it will not be a Drew Gilbert or a Ryan Clifford, as I'll begin with Drew Gilbert here in a minute, revenge series, because neither one of them has been called up to the MLB. Clifford a little younger than Gilbert. But a little note on Gilbert. Gilbert, if you remember, was the top Astros prospect in the system, of course, and he was traded in the Verlander deal. Though for Gilbert, he has missed most of the season with a hamstring injury, as they believe he's nearing a return sometime here in the month of July. So Drew Gilbert, he has not played in very many games so far this season. He only played in 7 games before getting hurt in early April. He was 6 for 25. That's good for a 240 average with 1 home run and 1 RBI. So the 23-year-old outfielder in AAA has not made it up yet to the majors. So I'm not saying the Astros have won the trade. I'm not saying the Mets have won the trade. I just want to give a little preview and a little notes in case anybody was wondering how Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford are doing, if they're doing great for the Mets, where they're at, and kind of just what's going on with them, because they were big pieces in this big Verlander trade last season at the trade deadline. So that's your Drew Gilbert update here on the show. And lastly, we will get to Ryan Clifford as I pull it up. And there it is, should be on your screen. Ryan Clifford has went from high A to now he's in double A, and in 2 systems so far, in 211 at-bats in 66 games. He's been a 194 hitter with a 384 on base percentage. So his on base percentage, due to his high walk rate, which he's walked 61 times on the year, which is way above average so far in 66 games. Though the issue is his 194 average is probably holding him back from being in AAA. He can play a little outfield, a little first base. Obviously, Astros fans probably don't want to hear that because we need a first baseman right now. But I don't think Clifford would have been in their plans for 2024, maybe not even 2025, probably late 2025, 2026 would have been the ideal time to call him up. We don't know how well he really would have done with the Astros right now. But nonetheless, Ryan Clifford is really struggling other than his on-base percentage so far this season. He's got to get his average up there, though he does have 9 homers and 32 RBIs for his stature. Just like I said, I want to give a little update on 2 of the Astros' former top prospects and how they're doing. And just to update everybody on that, to give you something a little different here. And I think they're just 2 memorable names to mention because they could have an impact at the MLB level at some point, though maybe they fizzle out in the minor leagues. We'll never know. But something I'm going to keep an eye on, at least for the next couple of years. And if they make it to the majors, obviously we'll hear a little bit about them catching some Mets highlights potentially in the future if they make it that far. So I went through the Astros versus Rockies series preview, and of course your Astros versus Mets preview, and to give you a little update on the Astros former top prospects, Ryan Clifford and Drew Gilbert, as they look to eventually, for their sake, make the major leagues. And, well, they want to have successful major league careers, make that money, make that salary. And, of course, for their sake, it's better in the MLB than the minor leagues. That goes without saying. So just to give you a little update there. Also, a little news. The Astros, maybe they make a deal at the deadline. Maybe they don't. A couple names I've been hearing, obviously Pete Alonso. The JD Martinez name I threw out there just because I expect him probably to be on the move. Not really an Astros trade target. I have not seen or heard anything. Though another trade name that's been thrown out there is Vladdy Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., if you're not familiar with him, the son of Vladimir Guerrero. I don't expect the Astros will be able to plug him. It would probably cost you 3 out of your top 5 prospects. I don't think that's the best idea. He is under team control, Vladdy Jr., as I mentioned. He is under team control through next year, so that would be a bonus, though he is going to command probably 20 plus million a year next year, and that's probably going to put you over some kind of tax threshold. I don't know, though I don't think the Astros will be going out to get him. Probably not Pete Alonso either, because it's going to cost you a pretty penny for the rest of the season as well. And then, of course, for pitching wise, they might go get a bullpen arm. I don't know of any names that are out there right now, but they're not going to make a move right now. They're going to stand pat no matter what happens these next couple of weeks up until the deadline and right after. They're not going to make a move till likely the last few days, unless it's, trade-wise, they're not going to make a move. They might make a waiver claim or two, as teams do all season long. So the only pitching name I've heard linked to them so far is Jesus Luzardo. He's a left-handed starting pitcher for the Miami Marlins, though he can be up and down. He's had his struggles. He was formerly a top prospect in the Oakland A's system. So just a couple of names to keep a watch on that you're probably hearing rumored out there to the Astros. I don't think Luzardo, out of the 3 names I mentioned, out of Alonso, Guerrero Jr., and Luzardo, I think would be the most realistic. Obviously, we're going to hear plenty more rumors coming up in the coming weeks, as the deadline is about a month from today as I record this video on June 28th. So just a few names to keep your eyes on. Maybe they happen, maybe they don't. But, of course, there will be plenty other rumors, and I can let you know, and I will in the coming weeks, if I believe those rumors are true or false, because there's going to be a lot of false reports out there, people making up stories of, oh, this guy's on the move, and, well, you got to pay attention to the right people, because there's a bunch of people putting out a bunch of fake reports out there, fake rumors, and you got to understand which ones are true and which ones aren't. So with all that being said, that wraps up the latest edition here on Clark Crawford Sports on YouTube. Wrapping up some more Astros baseball talk here on June 28th. As the Astros are on a 7-game win streak, they look to continue their recent winning ways here in New York this weekend. I'll be back either later this weekend with the live stream after the Mets series, or I will be back Monday for an Astros versus Mets series recap and your Astros versus Blue Jays series preview. We'll see what happens this weekend. I will shout out on my socials, my Twitter at Clark Crawford Sports, and my Facebook, and also my Instagram, if I will be doing a live stream as well. So look out for a potential live stream if you're interested. Like down below my video, comment as well, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see all of you either in a live stream, I need to do another one soon, or the next edition on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see all of you later on this weekend or on Monday.